Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Awesome. So today we're tackling canine neurology.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're zeroing in on the suprascapular nerve.
Ah, interesting.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty crucial for our furry friends.
It is. It is. It might seem small, but it has a huge impact on a dog's movement.
Exactly, like how they use those front legs?
Yeah, like running and jumping and all that good stuff.
Precisely. And our guide for this deep dive, a 2007 research article from the Veterinary Record. It's called Measurement of Distal Motor Latency of the Suprascapular Nerve in Dogs.
Catchy title, huh?
Haha. Yeah, well, scientists in their title.
True, true. And don't let the technical stuff scare you off.
Right. This is going to be fascinating, I promise. By the end, you'll totally get why this nerve is so important.
Absolutely. And we'll even learn how vets use this cool technique, distal motor latency.
Oh, yeah, to diagnose problems, right?
Yep.
Okay, so first things first. Can you give us a quick rundown on the suprascapular nerve? Like, where is it? What does it even do? Sure. So it starts up in the neck.
Okay.
Comes from the 6th and 7th cervical nerves.
Gotcha.
Then it goes down to the shoulder, and its main job. It's all about movement. It's a motor nerve, you see.
Makes sense.
And it powers two really important muscles,
Mm-hmm.
the supraspinatus and infraspinatus.
So those muscles are basically what allow a dog to move its shoulder.
You got it.
Wow.
Yeah, they're essential for pretty much every movement.
Oh, wow.
His front legs do. Running, jumping, playing fetch, even just walking around.
So, if this nerve has issues, it could seriously affect a dog's life.
Big time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately can be damaged in a few ways.
Like what kinds of things could injure this nerve?
Well, anything messing with the neck or shoulder could do it.
Oh, I see.
Spinal fractures, dislocations, issues with the intervertebral discs down in the lower neck,
Ouch.
even a fractured shoulder blade.
So it's kind of vulnerable, especially if a dog is, super active and always getting into stuff.
Definitely, definitely. And here's the tricky part.
What's
Damage to the nerve can look a lot like a muscle injury.
Really?
Yep, both can cause weakness, lameness in the leg.
Oh, wow. So how do vets even tell if it's a nerve problem or a muscle problem? That seems really tough.
It is tough, but that's where this distal motor latency comes in.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned that earlier. So how does that work? Are we talking like a tiny speedometer on the nerve or something?
Haha, not quite, but I like the image. Imagine the nerve as a high-speed internet cable, sending signals from the brain to the muscles.
Okay, I'm following.
Distal motor latency is like checking the download speed on that cable.
Interesting.
Any lag could mean a problem with the cable itself, in this case, the nerve.
Ah, so it's less about how fast and more about how efficient that signal is.
You got it. And if there's a delay, it could mean damage or disruption.
Makes sense. Now, that research article you mentioned,
Right.
What did they do exactly?
Well, they measured this distal motor latency in 20 healthy dogs,
Okay.
14 females and 6 males. They wanted to figure out what's considered normal.
Right. Got to have that baseline.
Exactly. And they found some interesting stuff. For example, male dogs tended to have slightly longer latencies than female dogs.
Huh. Interesting. Is that because of size, or could it be like an evolutionary thing? Maybe something about how their nerves develop differently?
That's a great question.
Right.
To be honest, we don't have a definitive answer yet.
Oh, okay.
Some researchers think it might be connected to muscle mass.
Oh, yeah. Muscle mass could be a factor.
Male dogs, on average, they tend to have more muscle in their shoulders,
Right.
and that could affect the nerve signal.
Yeah, that makes sense. More muscle, maybe a slightly longer path for the signal to travel?
Exactly. Like a bigger house might need longer wiring.
Exactly. But could it also be about the length of the nerve itself?
It could. Or even those developmental differences between males and females.
Oh, wow. So many possibilities.
It's a bit of a mystery still, but researchers are working on it.
It's amazing how much we still don't know, even about something like a nerve. It just shows how complex dogs really are.
It does. It really does. And to add another layer, the suprascapular nerve isn't the only one involved in shoulder function.
Wait, really? There are other nerves, too.
Oh, yeah. There's the axillary nerve, for example.
What does that one do?
It controls the deltoid muscle, which is key for flexing the shoulder joint.
Oh, okay.
And then you've got the musculocutaneous nerve, which powers a bunch of muscles in the upper arm and forearm.
Wow, so it's a real team effort.
It is. All these nerves working together for smooth movement.
That makes sense. And that's why a full neurological exam is so important.
Right.
The vet can't just look at one nerve by itself.
Exactly. They have to assess everything, all the nerves and muscles in the area.
It's like being a detective.
Exactly. They're searching for clues,
Yeah.
things like muscle atrophy, changes in reflexes, anything that helps pinpoint the problem.
Wow, canine neurology is way more specialized than I thought.
It is.
It's not just knowing the names, it's understanding how they all work together
Absolutely.
and spotting those subtle signs of trouble. Okay, so back to the suprascapular nerve for a sec.
Sure.
You mentioned it's a motor nerve, mostly about movement, but are there any other functions? Does it do anything else?
Well, it turns out it's not just about movement.
Uh-oh.
It actually has a little sensory component, too.
Wait, so it's a two-way street. It sends signals down to the muscles, but it also gets info back from the shoulder.
You got it. It carries sensory info back to the brain
From
the shoulder joint capsule. That helps the dog know where their shoulder is and how it's moving.
That's so cool. It's like a built-in GPS for their shoulder.
Exactly. You need that feedback to move smoothly and prevent injury.
Makes total sense. Now, I know this wasn't the main focus of the study,
Right.
but it's cool to see how there's always more to learn.
Always. Even about things we think we already understand pretty well.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, right?
Aha, exactly. Always another layer to discover.
So we've talked about diagnosis,
Mhm.
but what about treatment?
Right.
What can be done for a dog with this kind of injury?
Well, it depends on what's causing the problem and how bad it is.
Okay.
Sometimes conservative management is enough.
What's that?
Things like rest, pain meds, physical therapy to keep the muscles strong and flexible.
So like physiotherapy for dogs.
Exactly. But if it's more serious, like the nerve is really compressed or damaged,
Yeah.
then surgery might be needed
Oh, wow.
to relieve the pressure on the nerve or even repair it.
That sounds like a big decision.
It is. It is. Vets have to consider a lot of things.
Say what?
The dog's age, their overall health, how bad the nerve damage is,
Right. Makes sense.
and of course the risks and benefits of surgery.
It's all about weighing those options.
Exactly. And finding what's best for that individual dog.
Right. Because every dog is different.
They are.
Yeah.
What works for one might not work for another.
So let's say a dog does have surgery for this nerve injury.
Okay.
What are their chances of getting better?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it's hard to give a definite answer.
I bet.
It depends on so many things. How bad the damage is, what caused it in the first place, how quickly they got treatment.
So early intervention is key.
Absolutely. The sooner the better.
That's important for all dog owners to know.
It is.
If you notice any shoulder problems like limping, favoring a leg, trouble moving their shoulder, call your vet right away.
Couldn't agree more. Early diagnosis can make all the difference.
This has been so informative. I feel like I understand the canine shoulder so much better now.
It is a fascinating area.
And the suprascapular nerve, wow. It's amazing how much it does.
It is.
We're not done yet, though.
Right. There's more to come.
In the next part, we'll delve into some of the cutting-edge research happening in canine neurology.
The future is exciting.
It is.
Stay tuned, everyone.
It really is amazing,
Yeah.
how much we're learning about canine neurology.
I know, right? It's incredible. Like, this study, it's so simple, but it tells us so much about a dog's health.
It really does.
But you know what I'm curious about?
What's that?
You mentioned those longer latencies in male dogs.
Yeah. Is it really just a size thing, or could there be some evolutionary reason behind it? Like, did their nerves develop differently over time or something?
That's a fascinating thought.
Right.
And honestly, we don't have a clear answer yet.
Oh, okay.
It's still a bit of a mystery. But one theory is that it's related to, muscle mass.
Muscle mass. Yeah, that makes sense.
Male dogs tend to have more muscle in their shoulders.
Right, on average.
And that could affect the nerve signal,
Yeah, I see what you mean. More muscle, longer pathway for the signal.
Exactly. Like we said before, bigger house, longer wiring.
Exactly. But it could also be the nerve itself, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe male dogs just have longer suprascapular nerves.
It's possible. Or maybe there are differences in how the nerves develop in males versus females.
Oh, wow. It could be so many things.
It really could. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing to think we still have so much to learn, even about something as basic as a nerve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it gets even more complex when you consider that the suprascapular nerve isn't working alone here.
Wait, really? There are other nerves involved in shoulder function.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For instance, there's the axillary nerve.
Okay, what does that one do?
That one controls a muscle called the deltoid, which is super important for flexing the shoulder.
Oh, okay, so it's all connected.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And then you have the musculocutaneous nerve, which powers several muscles in the upper arm and the forearm.
Wow, so it's a real team effort in there.
It is. All these nerves working together to make sure the shoulder moves smoothly.
And that's why a full neurological exam is so important, right?
Oh, absolutely. The vet can't just look at one nerve in isolation.
Right, they have to look at the whole picture.
Exactly. Assess all the nerves and muscles in the area to figure out what's going on.
It's like detective work.
It is. It is. Looking for those subtle clues.
Yeah.
Muscle atrophy, changes in reflexes, anything that might point them in the right direction.
This makes me realize just how specialized canine neurology is.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's not just knowing the names of the nerves, it's understanding the whole system and how to spot those tiny signs that something's wrong.
It takes a lot of training and experience.
Okay, so back to the suprascapular nerve for a second.
Sure.
You mentioned it's mostly a motor nerve, all about movement. But does it have any other functions? Anything beyond that?
Well, it turns out it does have another role.
Really? What's that?
It also has a small sensory component.
Hold on, so it's not just sending signals out to the muscles, it's getting information back from the shoulder, too.
You got it. It carries sensory information back to the brain.
From where?
From the shoulder joint capsule.
Yeah.
This feedback helps the dog understand the position of their shoulder and how it's moving.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like having built-in GPS for their shoulder.
Exactly. It needs that information to move smoothly and avoid injury.
That makes total sense. It's like you can't drive a car without knowing where you are on the road.
Exactly. And while this wasn't the main focus of the study we talked about,
Right.
it's a great example of how there's always more to discover.
Yeah, there's always another layer to peel back, right?
Always. And this is just one nerve. Imagine all the other mysteries hidden within the canine body.
Okay, so we've talked about diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
but what about treatment? What are the options for a dog with a suprascapular nerve injury?
Well, the treatment really depends on a few things.
Like what?
How severe the problem is, what's causing it.
Right, that makes sense.
Sometimes all you need is conservative management.
Conservative management, what's that?
Things like rest, pain medication, and physical therapy,
Oh, okay.
to help maintain muscle strength and range of motion.
So like physiotherapy for dogs.
Exactly. But in more severe cases, especially if the nerve is really compressed or damaged, surgery might be necessary.
Oh, wow.
It could involve decompressing the nerve
Okay.
or even repairing it.
That sounds like a pretty major decision.
It is. It is. It's not something vets take lightly.
I imagine not.
They have to consider all sorts of factors.
Like what?
The dog's age, their overall health, how bad the nerve damage is.
Right, all important things.
And of course, the potential risks and benefits of surgery.
It's all about finding that balance.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Weighing those options and figuring out the best course of action for each individual dog.
Because as we said, every dog is different.
They are. What works for one might not work for another.
So let's say a dog does undergo surgery for a suprascapular nerve injury.
Yeah.
What are their chances of recovery? Like, what's the prognosis?
That's a tough one to answer definitively.
Yeah, I bet.
It really hinges on a lot of factors.
Right.
How severe the nerve damage was, the underlying cause, how quickly treatment was started.
So catching it early is crucial.
Absolutely.
Right.
The sooner you diagnose and treat the problem, the better the outcome is likely to be.
That's a powerful message for dog owners out there.
It is.
If you notice any signs of shoulder problems, don't wait. Talk to your vet right away.
Couldn't agree more.
This has been so eye-opening.
It is a fascinating topic.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the canine shoulder now.
I'm glad to hear that. It's an area that's often overlooked, but it's so important for a dog's mobility and well-being.
And the suprascapular nerve, wow, it really plays a critical role.
It does.
But we're not done yet.
We're not. There's still more to come.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the cutting-edge research happening in canine neurology.
The future is exciting.
It is. Stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. We've been having a fascinating conversation all about the canine suprascapular nerve. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have. From its anatomy and function to how it can be injured and even how vets diagnose those potential problems.
It's amazing to see how far veterinary medicine has come, especially in neurology.
I know, right? It's incredible what we can do now.
It makes me feel so hopeful for all those furry friends out there, knowing they have a real chance at a long and healthy and active life.
Absolutely. And the best part, this field is always moving forward. Researchers are always looking for new ways to help.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, you mentioned earlier some cutting-edge research in canine neurology. What's on the horizon? What has you really excited?
Well, one area that's getting a lot of attention is regenerative medicine.
Regenerative medicine.
Yeah, specifically its potential for treating nerve injuries.
Oh, wow.
Things like stem cell therapy, growth factors.
So, like, actually helping the nerves regenerate and heal.
Exactly. It's still early days, but the possibilities for dogs with nerve injuries are huge.
It's almost like science fiction. Regenerating nerves, wow.
It really is remarkable, isn't it? Makes you wonder what else we'll be able to do in the future.
It does. I'd love to hear from our listeners about this. What other innovations in veterinary medicine are you excited about? What breakthroughs are you hoping to see in animal care down the road?
That's a great question for our audience. What are you looking forward to in the future of animal health? Because it really does feel like the possibilities are endless.
They do.
Oh.
And it feels pretty amazing to be living in a time where we can not only understand these complex conditions, but also develop treatments that can truly improve a dog's quality of life.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, this brings us to the end of our deep dive into the canine suprascapular nerve. Who knew this one seemingly small nerve was so important for a dog's ability to move and really to just enjoy life?
It's fascinating, isn't it, how everything is connected?
It is. I've learned so much, and I hope our listeners have too.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Keep those tails wagging, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.